Yeah. So, it's hard to be that formal, you know?
It's hard to be the queen.
Right. Especially Queen of Diamonds, for example.
Yeah, because what happened with her again?
Yeah,
Queen of
I don't know.
Diamonds.
Desperado.
Hey, we go back to talking about Linda Ronstadt again.
Yes.
Good Lord.
Dennis.
I don't want to do that.
Yes. Hey. We have to read each other. This is like podcasting 101. So I say, hey, Dennis, how you doing, Bo?
Hey.
And you say, hey, Erik, I'm doing
fine.
Now you are. Got that out of your system. So, you done anything this week?
Whew, let's see. Been busy building stuff. Built a gate. I've got two of my one-car shed that I've turned, one-car shed garage.
Right.
Turned into a workshop. My neighbor has a garage about the same size, a little lower. Right next to it, there's a 4.5 foot space between the two buildings. Painted it. Had it painted. I bartered. Did I tell you this? I bartered the carpentry work for my neighbor's barn for him to pay for painting my walls. It was a great barter arrangement.
You did
talk about.
Yes. Yeah. Tell me.
So my neighbor's house is getting painted. It's done now. It's gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
And the company in Kalamazoo, who can be trusted to do a good job, is Bats Painting.
Bats Painting.
And Chris is here and painted the house. And he says, in order for us to paint the garage, somebody's got to replace the rotted wood. It's in the bottom of the garage. Mm-hmm. Because the rain comes off the roof, it splashes, the mud gets on the boards, and over 100 years, they rotted. Mm-hmm. But he can't get his carpenter, who charges $75 an hour. So he asked me to do it, and I'm like, I'm uncomfortable taking money from my neighbors. But I'll tell you what.
You said, but I sure do carpenter.
Huh?
You said, I carpenter.
Well, I might have said something like that. I can't remember. I do carpenter.
Yes.
And I said, but if you'll spray paint that inside wall that nobody can see in my barn the same color as his, and paint the back, which nobody can see the same color as his, I'll trade you. You do the spraying, and you pay for the paint, and I'll do the carpentry.
You scratch my back.
And so I saved my neighbor $300.
Nice.
And what I did was I saved myself $300 and exchanged it for 6.5 hours work.
Hey, man.
So I'm very happy about it. But anyway, today I built a gate. When it's finished, I'll show you pictures. You're going to look at it and say, wow, that's a gate that you're going to go through maybe once a year to get your ladder. Maybe you overdid it a little.
Sweet gate, bro.
Sweet gate. And it's a high gate as opposed to a low gate. I'm going to turn it into an extended gate.
Boy, these all sound like political scandals.
Check this, man. The hinge
Bartered
gate is 5 foot long.
5 foot hinge?
The hinge for the gate is 5 foot long.
Wow. It's almost as big as Stonehenge.
It's not a 6 foot gate.
Right.
So how many hinges have you seen that are 5 feet long? You've never seen one.
I've never seen a 5 foot hinge.
Can you imagine? It looks more like a zipper than a hinge. Truthfully, it looks like the teeth on a zipper.
But door's not falling off.
Yeah. Anyway, my neighbor's happy with the gate. I'm going to paint it the colors of their barn because they've got paint handy right there. I turn around and I say, I better paint this. I wonder if I should paint it gray like my barn or brown like theirs. I look over to my left and there's a gallon of brown paint. I'm like, thank you, Lord. Thank you. Presented unto me.
Nice.
Thought, perception, materialization, utilization, and then relaxation.
Yeah, so speaking of painting, my happy hour studios that I'm setting up has been getting painted this past. It was supposed to take a week, but it's going on like week 2.5.
Because part of that is surprise issue.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, before we painted, and I bought my desk, and I had already set up my workstation there with my standing desk and my monitors mounted so they were floating above the desk. And when the painter said they were coming, I unhooked my monitors and a TV that we had over there and brought them over to our house across the hall. And they put some plastic over my standing desk. I left all my cables. So I've been working just like I'm used to working with my laptop screen and 2 other monitors. And for the past 2 weeks, I've just had my laptop. But so today that's finally
gotta be different. What a downer, man.
I know, man.
3 screens to 1. My little 6-inch computer is about all I have.
It's not the size that
I
matters.
need an upgrade, man. Why don't you
need your IT
come
guy.
stay with us?
Yeah.
Be my IT guy from Spain.
All right,
virtually. I mean, come here.
Come here, do it virtually.
yet.
Fly me over and then have a Zoom call from the other room.
Yeah. What did we do once in Morganton? Was we recorded one of these when we were in the same.
Yeah. That's available to the video of that is available to Patreons at patreon.com/happy hour. Yeah. So anyway, so today finally, after 2 weeks, they said, "Hey man, you got to choose a color," and so they gave me this color swatch book that is pretty much infinite, and at that point my wife was not in town, so I took a photo and sent it to her, and she said, "How about EN 5279-B7?" And I was like, "Yeah, that looks fine," because it's
what is it?
freaking indistinguishable from white. But there's so many off-whites that it's just, if you showed me one color and told me this was A, and showed me another color and told me this was B, and then put them behind your back and pulled one of them out, like 50 that I could tell you which one it was. They're just identical. So anyway, today they started painting, and they painted part of a wall. So they've got the walls all down to just like white plaster.
Is it plaster board?
I know they sanded all the little bumpy bits off, and then I think they've gone over it with, I don't know, it's white and flat. It's not.
They probably went over the thing with some type of
with a sander
like a mortar,
sort of thingy,
like a mortar that smooth out the and
so anyway,
you'll know how smooth that is only after it's been painted.
It's pretty darn smooth now.
Oh my God!
Wow, amateur hour.
A story. What the hell?
Wow.
Turn off your phone. You call yourself a producer, you don't produce anything but chaos.
It's true.
You call yourself a director, you direct nothing but chaos.
So today they
Don't change the subject, Dr. Chaos.
Excuse me, my name is Agent of Chaos. That's my official title.
No wonder you wouldn't respond. I should have known. I didn't even notice that number tattooed on your forehead. That's like a little bulletin board for your new identity essay.
Indeed. I'm not allowed to talk about it though. So today they knock on my door and they say, "Hey, we've painted part of this wall the color that you chose." And I go over there, and I'm just like, "Which part of the wall?"
Really?
They're like right here, and they had this big sort of light that they shone on it, and I was like, "I can't. Where did you paint?" And finally, when they took it away, and he pointed to the slight border where one part is a little bit more gray, because we've gone with a grayish white.
And as it turns out, the grayish white closely matched the mortar color.
Look,
obviously.
Look, it all looks white to me, man. And
are you colorblind? Huh?
No.
No?
I don't think so.
Do you have some type of seeing impairment that or do you think that if I stood in front of it, I'd say the same thing?
I think you probably would. And I said, "Hold on, let me take a photo to show my wife." And he said, "No, don't bother. The difference won't show up in a photo."
There you go.
Exactly. And once I sat there and let my eyes adjust, and he put away the damn bright light, I could detect where the paint had stopped.
It should have felt different. It should have felt smoother.
I wasn't touching it.
Why didn't you touch it? Wasn't it dry?
I was evaluating color.
So, God, I hate to.
I use my eyeballs
more than
for
one
that.
of your six senses at once. But you can look and touch at the same time.
Did not sniff it. But
that's another way you would have told. You would have
exactly. So
the part that was painted smells like. Complete the sentence. The one that was painted would smell like ...
Gray.
Erik, gray.
Oh wait, wrong sentence. Wait, paint.
Oh, you're hysterical.
Yeah. So I said, "Yeah, sure, let's go with that." And so
the question is simple: do you like the color your room is right now? Because essentially, it's going to be like that, but a little shinier.
Yeah.
Yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah.
You like the color of the walls as they sanded them?
Sure.
And do you think that the sanded walls are exactly uniform all through the room, or do you think that's one of the reasons that they need paint? It's because they're not uniform, and paint would make them uniform in terms of tone and depth and color. Mortar, if it's on thicker, it might look different than it's on thinner.
I haven't really evaluated all that closely, but I imagine, I don't know, man. Like, this is one of these things that I just can't bring myself to care that much about. and it's
If you go in, the room is painted hideously. You might say, sure. What if the fine print is that they're going to write your name is in 4-foot letters all across the room? That you miss that part. So
maybe
you're
cool,
going to walk in a room that's got your name and it's spelled wrong. It's spelled with a
okay,
K.
that hurts.
With a K.
My name is spelled with a K. Silly.
I'm sorry. See, it's so confusing.
Yeah. So, yes, you can paint a room badly, but of
Yeah, it
the
didn't look like it.
4,000 off-whites that are available to choose from, I don't really care which.
What color's the trim board?
Good question. The trim is a dark wood color.
Oh, is it actual
It's actual
stained wood?
Yes. But
Stained, what kind of wood?
I don't know,
Pine?
super cheap wood, yeah, probably.
Whitish.
It's darker than that.
It's darker because it's stained. Did you see it when it was put up before it was stained, or did they put it up stained?
No, they took away all of the what do you call it? The part that goes around
Footboard.
the footboard. Okay.
Yeah,
they took away all of those
trim board.
and they said, look, these are old and crappy, and they have drops of paint on them from the last time that some people painted here. And would you like us? Would you like us to put on new ones? And I said, how much is that going to be? And he was like, that's going to be like $300. And I said, sure, yeah.
That's just the baseboard, though, right? There's no ground molding. So trim board at the bottom and then around the doors.
Yes, and then around the doors is the same color.
And the windows as well, then. It's around the doors, it's around the windows.
Yeah. So he asked if we wanted the same color or white to match the walls. And
That's always nice.
I talked it over with my wife, and we were like, I don't know, we don't really have an opinion on this. So I asked the painter, I said, what would you do? And he said, it's up to the customer to choose. But in my house, I have white ones, and I like it. And I said, fine, put white ones.
I thought you said they were stained.
They were, and I imagine around the doors, they're still going to be stained to match the door jamb, but I don't know. We'll see.
You don't seem to be very involved in this job. Do you tell the painter, yeah, whatever, just, you're the painter?
Paint,
Pick
man.
the paint.
Yeah.
And just hope I like it. Come on, I'm busy. I'm my new office trying to.
Yes. In my old office, because I can't be in my new office. Yeah.
My old office. I
Yeah.
mean, in my old office relocated as my new office.
Right. So it's, I don't know. I want an opinionated person to come in and just take care of all of this shit for me.
You're asking your painter to also be your designer, which is a good sense. And I told you the story of my painter who were outside the house. And like a lot of porches in the old days, at the floor and the outside wall of the porch, they would have a little place for moisture to run out of the porch. And that little half moon cutout from the outside is at about 4.5 feet off the ground, because you've got 3 steps to get to the porch. Mm-hmm. And the porch floor is painted brown. And my painter said, what color you want me to paint that board there? And I said, it's the same wood as the inside of the house, so it's brown. And he said, you sure you don't want it gray like all the outside trim? And I said, it doesn't seem consistent. I said, and he said, so here's the question. Do you want to feature that little place in your front of your porch?
There it is.
And I said, featured. He said, yeah, draw the eye to it right away. Is that what you want people to look at, or do you want them to look, for example, at your door? Or your mailbox, your old fancy mailbox, or your doorknob, or do you want them to glance over and notice that there seems to be a brown floor sticking out of the front of your porch? So he knows the stuff.
He's in there doing all day.
Yeah, that's right. And he knows what works, and he knows when he's listened to customers and they do something that he really doesn't think is right, and he doesn't say anything, and then they become unhappy and they want him to fix it, which of course would make him more money. But as a painter, you'd rather not have to fix it.
Right.
You'd rather be done and be done. You got another customer to go to. You don't need to stay with this one for the rest of the summer. But yeah, I saw the gate in the alleyway between the 2 outbuildings. I found it in the dumpster at Lowe's. You've heard this story before. The employees at Lowe's apparently say, this is dirty, or it was part of a larger structure. The door has no use. We don't need the building anymore. So they tear the building apart and they throw the whole thing into a dumpster. And it's got a door that's 6 foot by 3 feet wide, with a 5-foot hinge on it.
Yes.
And it's built out of external plywood structure, built well, although with staples rather than screws. And there it is in the dumpster. So now it's my gate. I feel very...
Dumpstergate. That's the name of our scandal.
That's a good one.
Got it.
I feel very useful when I do stuff like that. When instead of going to the dump, I repurpose it.
Go to the dumpster.
Yes. To the dump, to the dump, to the dumpster we go. To the dump, to the dump, to the dump we go. To the dump, to the dump, to the dump we go. To the dump, to the dump, to the dump we go. To the dump.
And we found a gate. Nice.
You sound like a squeaky mouse. We found a gate.
Found a gate.
We found a gate.
That's
found a gate.
good news. On your gate. Gateway
On my
to-
gate.
Gateway drug.
Right. Dumpstergate.
That's the title of this episode. That's has to be.
Well, you seem to know it when you hear it, don't you?
Yes.
There's never a doubt.
Well,
You never end an episode without knowing the name of it. Maybe when you edit.
once or twice I've been like, oh man, I did this whole edit, and no particular phrase jumped out at me, but usually yes. And
So I want to talk a little bit about the video you sent me of Elliot, who got the part of Elliot in E.T.
yes,
And the name of the video is "You Got the Job, Kid," because I was mesmerized. I was mesmerized.
how can a child do that?
He just did it.
He lived
He
it.
just did it. I don't know when I've been more impressed with a tryout.
Right.
You know, I've seen a lot of them. We've seen a lot of them. So what did you?
Audition is the word. Yeah, I subscribe to this newsletter that sends me news highlights, and that's where I don't go looking for news, but I will skim this email that tells me, oh, the Taliban has done this, or a celebrity has died, and they always end the newsletter with they call it a click roulette, where this is a link to somewhere that is interesting, and it's almost always to a YouTube video, but this one was the title, of course, as you said, was "You Got the Job, Kid,"
That's
and
amazing.
it was just. This will be in the show notes. Hey, you know what episode we're on now? In the show notes at happyhour.fm/123. Oh yeah, going up. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
When you add them together, that's the number of our listeners. It's amazing. Some type of voodoo
Yes.
like math.
1 + 2 + yep, that's our listener count.
Not a good night. Well, it's been splendid here. The weather has been in the 70s. There's been just enough rain. It's beautiful. We went out to dinner at an outdoor patio, a place nearby called Martell's in Kalamazoo. It's never disappoints. Never disappoints. 3 different types of outdoor seating, and the third isn't open yet. But
Stool, a bench, and a chair.
You could turn that into a Karnak joke. That's the answer. What's the question?
What do you mean by 3 different types of outdoor seating?
An original brick patio that's been there for years, and then recently an extended wooden patio that goes off the front of it toward the lake, and the lake has a giant fountain, a water spout actually, rather than a fountain would be a better term.
And a straw patio.
A
straw patio from the first Little Pig.
Oh no, not straw, not sticks, wood.
You said
Planks.
wood and brick, so I figured kind.
Oh God, it's interesting you say that, because on the one side of the building where the original patio was,
Yeah.
there's a green space that's about 40 feet, 35 feet, and then swoops down to the lake.
Mm-hmm.
Another view of the lake. And they covered up the grass with a weed cover.
Straw.
And then, what do you think? They spread some straw over it?
I think so. I think the 3 Little Pigs built
It would have
this.
been cool if they did, because your little thing here would have made sense, but they didn't. They went directly to stone. So you want to change the 3 Little Piggies to brick and stone, or sticks, then
Sticks,
stone
then
and
bricks,
brick.
then brick. It's got to go stick, brick, stone.
No, I disagree. Brick is stronger than stone.
Brick is stronger than stone.
Sure, because it's uniform. And stone has got weak points.
Well, see what our listeners think about this. They can write in.
How will we do that? Now you're just making shit up. What do you mean?
We have an email address.
We do?
Yeah.
Send me an email. I've never used it.
It's happyhourdotfm@gmail.com.
I'm not writing it down. Send it to me, you lazy shit.
Go to the website
Hey,
and there's like a button.
Hey, did you watch 40? Or you didn't have time to watch 40?
I watched the first 20 minutes of it last night. Enough
This
to
is 40, I should say.
Yes.
Enough to remind you.
enough to realize that I love these characters and this is going to be a silly jaunt through.
Apatow's writing is just
Yeah.
hilarious. He nails it. The two girls in there are his daughters.
Really?
Yeah, which makes it for some fascinating stuff. And his eldest daughter just knocks it out of the ballpark. Just knocks it. Kills it.
Yeah, I will watch.
Says to her parents at one point, "What do you mean you don't want me to say fuck? You say fuck all the time, so fuck, 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 fuck." And later the father remarks, "Our children have some real problems." Oh, it's hilarious. It's hilarious.
I will watch any Paul Rudd movie.
Yeah.
Sometimes
He's
he
right.
is.
I
he's
told
just
you to wait for the credits, right? For the credits to roll.
Right. Of course.
But I'll
Only going
leave
20
that
minutes
at
in.
that.
Yes.
But we had an exchange about the Australian series. I think it's Australian, not British.
Yep. The end.
The End. And I've got to say that my HBO menu is confusing, so it was real weird and it was screwed up. I think I might have missed an episode, but it appears that I finished them all.
Yes.
And
You asked me
talk a
over
minute
email.
about the ending.
You asked me over email that you didn't notice when the protagonist got together with her patient's widower, which is a wild thing to say. And I went back and I scrubbed through some of the episodes that I had, and there's one where it starts where they are getting up from bed and getting dressed, and I looked at the previous episode, and there wasn't a moment, there wasn't a hop into bed moment. It was just
That's what I meant.
that wasn't a thing. She came over and told him, she confessed that she hadn't thrown away all of the drugs.
Yeah, I saw that.
Okay, that's all it was. And then she didn't
Really?
go home that night. Yeah.
And the next thing we see is that they're crawling out of bed with each other?
Yeah. So
It seemed to me, and I'll make this remark now that I've heard that, particularly that it was a bit herky-jerky from episode to episode, and it was partly because I had to jump between what HBO was listing as two different series this year and then that year, and I patched it together. But tell me your thoughts on the ending, and let's just spoil it, completely. But I really want to talk about it.
it's been a couple weeks. So I don't
She's got her kids on the beach. The scene opens,
Right.
and they're standing there, and she says, "You don't have to do this." And
yeah, they
Tom
all take their
says,
clothes off and
Granny, everybody takes their clothes off into their bathing suit, and Granny, Edie, says, "I didn't bring my suit." And then she says, "Oh, fuck it." And she goes naked.
Yep.
And then everybody does.
Yep.
And then they run to the ocean and they're naked, but then the next scene is a beach full of naked people, presumably all dead people. But I don't know that for sure.
Yeah, all of their
But they included the people we know who were dead in the series.
Right.
So one would presume it wasn't a mixture of live and dead. But there was a strange transcendence between current reality and Katie's plan and desire to get her family to jump into the ocean, and Edie's decision to go au natural was mesmerizing to me. I just thought it was the most clever fucking thing.
Yeah. I remember being like, "Oh wow, they just did that."
And I think too that I wonder, you've been to Australia, you've been to New Zealand.
No.
So in Australia, in Sydney, where much of this takes place,
Yep.
is it really like they're portrayed here? It's like for many, it's all about the water, huh?
Yes, we discussed this when I got back, because we recorded one episode when I was in Sydney.
Yes.
When it was like 9 a.m. and I had got a beer out of my friend's fridge and we were talking.
we were.
But as you may recall, my friend is big into the nippers, which is this class for kids to learn water safety and beach safety. And all the kids dress in these super hot pink wetsuits. And there was a scene in this series of kids wearing pink wetsuits running into the water at one point. So like the nippers made an appearance, but that's really common. That's like Boy Scouts,
Right.
for the Australians, or Girl Scouts, and that's just a thing that you put your kids through. And my friend is one of the fathers that helps out with that every week. But the Australians, of course, they all live on the coast basically, and water safety is a really high priority because the water is dangerous, and every year thousands of people get pulled out and drowned, but it's almost always tourists because the locals are so well trained in and have such a respect and reverence for the sea, that which I think came through in that final scene, where they understand what the water is and respect it,
and how to respect it, right? So, what were your impressions then of the naked dead people on the beach scene?
It's a representation of where her mind is, and she's thinking about those that are no longer there, and how some of them were helped in their transition and some were not, and her desire to continue helping. At the end, she laid down some rules about how, look, this is how we're going to do this now. I'm going to always have the drugs on me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be like passing out pills.
And you're making a great point about her epiphany moment when she fell off the wagon and then came up for air after that. I think that what she said to her family, in a manner of speaking, was, we're all going to join hands and we're going to experience what it means to be alive.
Yes.
We're going to experience what it means to just be focused on being happy in this world. And they went into the water, and like you are in the water, and when there's waves and there's shit going on, it's warm and it's wonderful, you're just there.
You can't be worried about your mortgage because there's a wave coming and you have to be prepared for it.
There's nothing, your attention is riveted from the enormity of the experience. And you really, your little pea brain can't really bring anything else into it.
What?
If the thought came, what about that paper that's due, that overdue bill?
Right.
Your brain is like,
a wave's
hey,
gonna smack the shit out of you.
We're fill up here, man. We're sorry, we got no more room. We're good. Come back tomorrow when he's exhausted from this. See ya. Slams the door, which is actually a gate found in the dumpster at Lowe's.
With 5 foot hinge.
How long?
5 foot, baby.
5 foot hinge. Makes me cringe. It's important, not a fringe. Has anybody seen my hinge?
What other words rhyme with?
2 inches wide, full of pride. Every time I'm so wild-eyed. Has anybody seen my hinge? Well, it's long and straight. Dumpstergate, covered with tin. Lollipops, quarter McDops. Bum, who let the monkey in?
60-inch hinge.
The 60th inch. We should do a documentary. Hey, speaking of documentaries, did you have a chance to look at the Bill Hader, Seth Meyers, and the other dude, the docu-series they've got? They've done 6.
You sent me a YouTube link that said this will not play in your country, and you gave no other context. So is that what you're referring to?
So Bill Hader and the dude with the curly hair, I can't remember his name. Is it Sam? Maybe it's, I can't remember. That's too bad. But Seth Meyers is the writer, and they did parodies of 6 different, so far, parodies of 6 different documentaries. And one of them that I was just couldn't wait, I was hoping they would show it in what I sent you, was actually this long interview with clips that they did near the release. And the one that I love was, of course, the parody of the Eagles. Because I don't know if you ever saw it. It was long. It was 2 or 3 episodes. It's long. And we talked about it, but I don't know that you ever saw it.
There is a documentary about the Eagles that I'm aware of, but I don't know that I've seen much of it.
At any rate, it was hilarious the way that they played on it. And the riff was, and Hader, of course, is so hilarious in these interviews.
Of course.
He said, the thing that struck us about the Eagles documentary is that here these guys are singing these sweet melodies and these love songs, but they're just badass motherfuckers beating each other up and threatening each other, swearing at each other. He says, like, Don Henley was a motherfucker. He was going to beat people up for not.
And then they get on mic and they're talking about, oh, my darling.
Is pussy, love songs for pussies by this tough band.
Nice.
Oh, Eric, we got to see it.
All right.
And I don't know what.
I do love a good. Those are called mockumentaries.
Mockumentary. That's
like, for example,
the rock and roll that Rob Reiner did.
Yeah. The hell's that movie called?
That was
Spinal Tap. And there's one where they're at a dog show, and There's those same people have made several mockumentaries, and they're so good.
Yeah.
But all right, I will put that into my homework, or at least future editing.
Which
Erik
part?
will. This Bill Hader.
Oh, yes. The thing is, if you see the clip, it's one thing, but I got to get my shit straight so I can see the series. I'm highly motivated. I just, Hader's just, he is to me about the funniest man alive.
Yeah, he's so good.
Wow. So excellent.
So my family has returned. And
Ray Rodriguez.
the house is full again.
Es nada.
And exactly. And trash appears here and there. And the cat came back too. They had the cat, Blaze. And so he and I get along really well. Everyone
The
else
cat who plays with matches.
Yes. He attacks everyone else, but he's very nice with me. And he comes and lies down on my desk next to my laptop and spends hours of the day with me while I'm working, in a nice way, in the way that I hoped having a cat would be.
Okay.
He's about 5 months old now, and so he's no longer
Right.
a little kitten, but he's
Right.
still a super playful adolescent.
Right.
And turns out,
Go ahead.
what?
I love your kitty. I do.
And he's discovered that my fingers when I'm typing and using the trackpad look a lot like prey that should be attacked. And
That might cause some misspellings.
but I've instituted a policy of if he bothers me while I'm working, I pick him up and I put him on the floor, and then it takes him
Yeah.
15 seconds to get back up onto the desk, and if he does it again, then he goes back on the floor. And it's getting slowly to the point after less than a week that
Right.
he's respecting my space.
What was the video that you sent me where the white cat, like a white plastic
was
cat,
headbanging.
and you said that it was like all the rage in Europe. What was that?
No, that was the video where Trump was dancing, and there's this meme of a cat that probably they just had a treat or something and they were moving it up and down in the way that you can make a cat headbang.
Right.
But it was set to that, and I don't know, there were a bunch of memes going around that. But so anyway, before my family arrived, I still had time to play with Netflix and Apple TV, and I watched this Apple TV Plus show that is a remake of a 1980s Steven Spielberg production called Amazing Stories. Do you remember anything about that? It's actually based on a book from like the 1920s, but it's this. There are in what's on Apple TV Plus, there are 5 episodes, and they are all
about a guy getting struck by lightning 5 times.
no. That might have been one of the ones in 1980, but these are 5 really well executed examples of common sci-fi tropes. And so there's one where a teenager dies and she's a ghost and she can only talk to her best friend, and to avenge her, not to avenge her death, but to help solve the crime or whatever. And there's another one where there's an alien that comes and possesses a body of a coma patient and what that entails. But my very favorite one, and I've always been a sucker for this particular trope, is the very first of those 5 episodes is a time, and we've talked about this, a time travel love story. And the premise is there's this millennial kid who is helping his brother restore old houses. And he couldn't really care less about restoring houses, but he knows how to do the work. But he's all the time looking at his phone and swiping on Tinder and blah, blah, blah. And he's in this old house, and there's a storm, and the power goes out, and he goes down to check the breaker. And something happens. He hears this noise in his ears, and he has to close his eyes and grasp his head. And when he opens his eyes, he's still in the basement of this old house, but he goes up the basement stairs, and the house is all furnished, and like in a way that it wasn't. It was all empty before.
Sure.
And he's gone from 2019 to 1919, when the house was at its heyday. And there's
cool.
this. But before he goes back, he's breaking apart things, and he finds this little box that has a matchbook with the word cabbage written in it.
Cabbage?
Cabbage. And an old photograph of a woman in a wedding dress. And he puts that in his pocket. And anyway, he ends up traveling back with that photograph. And so anyway, he ends up finding this woman, and she pulls out a shotgun and says, "Get the fuck out of my house. I don't know who you are, strange man." And he's like, "I just have to get back. I have to find my brother. I have to get back to the future." Anyway, so he goes outside, and everyone is riding horse-drawn carriages, and the local bar is closed because of prohibition. And he realizes that, oh shit, this is weird. Anyway, he ends up befriending the woman and convincing her with the photograph that he really is from the future, because she says, I've never been photographed. And then her fiance says, hey, before our wedding, I've arranged for you to have your photograph taken. She's like, holy shit, this really is true. Anyway, it's a good, there
Who
are
are the
other,
actors? Anybody I would know?
not a single famous person, which I really love stuff where it's really well acted and I don't know a single person, because I can't put anyone into any boxes. These are all, the woman looks a little bit like Rachel McAdams, which of course is the time traveler's wife, but it was really good. And all 5 of them.
And so you've seen many of these. We can talk about, who's the Pierce? He was in Marv Eastwood.
Mayor of
Gary Pierce. No, Guy Pierce.
Guy Pierce, yeah.
Guy Pierce was in a great Time Machine, and that was a remake of Black and White, maybe even back in the day. And then we've seen Back to the Future, and we've seen, which is a series, and then there's The Time Traveler's Wife, and on. What do you think? What's your favorite? Two questions, two-part question. You better write this down. Number 1, what's your favorite? Number 2, why? Go.
The first time travel love story that I saw, I think, was a 1980 movie called Somewhere in Time, filmed almost entirely on Mackinac Island.
No shit.
In the Great Hotel. So it was easy to go 100 years back in time because you got all the horses there already.
Mackinac Hotel.
Yeah.
The Grand, what's it called?
So like the Grand Hotel, I think it's called. And they had to break the rules to have some cars there in the future setting, and then they could go back to to having just the horses there. And
Tourism Bureau made a pile of money on that.
This movie stars Christopher Reeve and Jane Seymour.
Really?
When she was at her most gorgeous.
What's the name of it?
Somewhere in Time. Write that down. And the concept, and this movie scared me when I was a kid, because the concept, Christopher Reeve is, I don't know what the heck his job is, but for some reason he goes, maybe he's I don't want to be all Clark Kent, but he might be a journalist or something. For some reason he goes to some event where maybe he's a historian or something, and he's a speaker at this event, and as he's leaving the event, this old woman comes up to him and says, "Come back to me."
Jane Seymour.
And Jane is the actress's name, and he's, what the hell was that? He didn't think more of it. But then he starts learning that, oh, actually there's this way to time travel where if you go to a place that existed in your destination time and you dress like you should be in that destination time and you have all the right coins from your destination time and you go there and you meditate and focus on being in that time, that you can wake up and be in that time. And so he goes to the Grand Hotel and he does that, and he wakes up and he goes into the hotel when there are cars all around, and he walks out and there are only horses all around, which I think is hilarious, knowing what Mackinac Island's gimmick is.
Right.
And so he's there dressed properly for the time and bumps into and falls in love with this actress played by Jane Seymour, and they are madly in love. And at some point he spends days or a week there or something, and at some point, somewhat of a spoiler, the thing that freaked me out as a kid was he reaches into his pocket and he pulls out a modern penny, and that destroys his sense of illusion and makes him disappear from that time and appear back in the present, because it pulls him out of where he was. It's a paradox sort of thing, because he had convinced himself that he belonged in that time, but then he found this penny in his pocket or something, and it pulled him back out.
That's unique. And that's your favorite?
It was the first one that really blew my mind, and the idea that you could have this romantic relationship and then really be pulled so far out that the person that you had been in love with is now 80 years older or 60 years older than you. It was wild. So I don't know if that's my absolute favorite.
It sounds like it very well could be.
It was influential.
Or even would be. And of course, I've seen them all, and nothing compares to The Time Traveler's Wife to me.
Yeah.
It's nearly flawless movie to me.
Yeah.
one of those. And Erik Banyo is that. I've seen him in many roles. That is his best character. A loving, caring, really fucking confused guy.
Yeah, I was going to say, confused was the next adjective I was expecting.
You know, and I've seen him in some real strong roles, but that's my favorite one. But so where would you go if you could only go backwards, knowing that you couldn't change anything? Where would you go? Where would you go and when?
Knowing that I was guaranteed not to change anything?
Knowing no matter how hard you tried, you couldn't change anything. It was impossible. You might think that you could, but you couldn't. What was that flying through your room?
Is that a ghost? I don't see anything. But there was definitely something caught on camera.
Light.
There was an orb.
It was. It actually was. You don't film these, do you?
No, the video is recorded. I'm saving that for super posterity, but it was just an orb in my room. Only caught on my camera behind me.
It was. What were we talking about immediately before then that caused the orb to appear?
We were, well, exactly. Hey, it's a time traveler. It's a time traveler. You were asking if I could time travel and be guaranteed that I couldn't change anything.
Where would you, right. Just as kind of a rule or expectation.
Right. So one of the interesting things about this Amazing Stories thing that I saw, where the guy found this box with this picture of a woman and a matchbox. The word cabbage, by the way, turns out to be the password to get into the local speakeasy. It's prohibition. But he himself, back in the past, then places the box behind the board in the house to causally close the loop on him, then him, future him finding it. Future him, but past him, right. Can remember. Anyway, I'm reminded, your question reminded me of the Stephen King novel about the JFK assassination, where this guy figures out a way to travel back in time and goes and meets up with Lee Harvey Oswald and is...
I don't know anything about this. Who did this?
Stephen King wrote a book. There's a TV miniseries. Dennis, what was the date that Kennedy got shot?
November 22nd, 1962.
Almost. 63. That's the title of the book. 11/22/63. And there's a TV miniseries based on it, starring none other than
who?
James Franco as the
protagonist. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's pretty good. But and that's another time travel love story where he goes back in time and falls in love with this school teacher who then leaves clues and stuff. But yeah, anyway, but ultimately that event was so important for the universe that it's impossible to be stopped. But yeah, if I could go back to any time, the other day I might have mentioned it here. I have this a classic rock radio thing that I put on when I'm working and concentrating, and there were 2 Led Zeppelin songs back to back. And I decided, hey, I'm gonna go and listen to Led Zeppelin's albums from 1 to 4, as they happen to be named. And I don't know. I went through a Zeppelin phase as a teenager where I had access to a box set, and so for me, almost all of those songs, every album is a greatest hits. But
you'd go back to Led Zeppelin days.
Well, hold on, but if I only get one travel, then probably not. But the fact that in 1969 they put out their first album and their second album within 12 months, just to be a fly on the wall to watch that creativity happen, because they are so influenced by the blues and Hendrix and
those old days. And I've said this before, their concerts in the early days would include a acoustic set, where they had nothing fancier than 3 metal chairs and sat down, and Robert Plant played the harmonica and sang, and Page played acoustic plugged-in guitar, bass player.
That would be amazing.
And frankly, the same thing can be seen with the Stones, which Mick Jagger is one of the unheralded harp players.
I've never been a big Stones fan.
Well, you've got some type of framework for that feeling. I don't know what it would be, but
I don't know.
They're a talented group of men, so I'm not sure what you're...
I like their work, but...
You don't like their persona?
I know.
Because they were bad boys, and you were a good boy? You were a Beatles man? You thought Paul McCartney was cute, and their haircut was cute?
My parents never had
Mick Jagger
Stones
with
album.
his big, sexy, big lips, and it scared you. You said, "Oh no, man, those guys are dirty, they're greasy. Those are bad rock and rollers. I like the Beatles."
You know the Stones logo of the big lips and the tongue sticking out?
Yes.
My 12-year-old daughter recently bought a T-shirt as a birthday present for her 13-year-old best friend that was full of different colored versions of that logo. And I asked both of them, I said, "Do you guys know what this logo is or about or anything?" And they're like, "No idea." Okay, I'm old now. Okay, back to the question. Of course, it depends on so many different parameters. If I'm going back and observing only, or if I could be in danger, awfully curious to see what the dinosaurs were like.
Yeah.
And also...
So you're imagining you're going back in time as yourself and witnessing these things in your current body so that you don't go back in the future and you're in fact a fucking caveman. Which,
right.
I don't know if you would even notice the difference that much.
No.
Given your demeanor, your hunched attitude, your incredibly hairy back. I've never seen hair. When you wear a tank top, I'm like, oh God, cover it up.
I try to.
You look like a worse version of Robin Williams.
Wow, thank you.
The hairiest comedian who ever lived.
No, curious about the dinosaurs. Curious to see what, if anything, this person that we now call Jesus was like. Because that's so much of that story is made up.
Think of this. That's one of those events.
You'll see the spider monkeys.
That some would say had an impact on the way the world is.
The writing about the events had an impact because all of the eyewitness accounts of that were written like 50 years after they happened. So this is like someone today writing about
1820
about the Vietnam War as if it was like happening now or earlier. I'd be curious to see that because there are some fairly compelling theories to suggest that it might have all been made up in general, but because so much of the story of what we know of as Jesus is so similar to known previously existing stories. And I don't know, I'd be curious to know the truth on that. And everyone, I'd be curious to know what my parents and grandparents were like at
that's fascinating.
Always at my age. Like when they were my age, I knew them, but to see what they were like as children or something would be interesting.
Well, you say that last thing, and it reminds me of this stunning black and white picture of my great-grandfather, certainly my grandfather, and an uncle. And the uncle looks like I looked in my freshman high school photo,
right?
But with a mustache and maybe 28, 29 years old. And I wonder what it'd be like to start with that when that photo was taken, observing it being taken.
Right.
And then either work backwards or forwards. But
and see what that world was like.
It's striking how much he looked like I looked.
Yeah.
But I like to go to the Wild West. I like to go to the wooden towns and the muddy streets and be there.
Stinky.
And I might want to be a bar owner.
Sliding the shot glass across the bar.
Might end up being a sheriff. Or a U.S. Marshal.
Interesting. I think the Western and so much of the historical stuff, we don't... Like,
shit, they're coming to get me.
Yeah, you're the sheriff, ain't you?
That was short-lived. Gotta go.
So much of the Western stuff, like, they don't show how hard it was to get dressed and undressed and just you get to bathe once a month. And you have to shit out. If you are lucky enough to have doors around where you shit, then that's nice. But there's no plumbing in the Western towns, right?
Famous book about that I think it's maybe in paperback now, but it's The Mistake of Poison Ivy, Shitting in the Wilderness by famous Indian Cherokee, Squat and Leave It. It was, sure you've heard of it.
Nice, yes. So if you go too far back in time, you end up in, and you think, maybe I want to go back and see medieval knights or something. But that was
right.
The streets were
well,
covered
what happens?
in shit
You
too.
end up in the dinosaurs, and you show up, and the first thing that happens is a fucking brontosaurus steps in you, fucking squishes you. that's the thing about time travel too, is you got to assume for our own.
That's why I was putting caveats on it. Am I just going back as a ghost to observe? Because
no, I don't think Ghost does it. I think you've got to be there and be able to participate. And I think the thing is where you show up. I like the idea to some degree of a mixture of what happens in The Time Traveler's Wife and in Somewhere in Time with Reeves and Seymour, where you plan for it.
Right.
But the thing about Time Traveler's Wife, which is the core of it, which makes it different from so many, is it's unknown when it happens, and it's unknown why. All the other ones are about figuring out how to do it and doing it. Is it the only one that it's unintentional time travel? I wouldn't be surprised.
There's a Michael Crichton novel, and Michael Crichton is definitely one of my top favorite authors. But he has this formula where it's take something that science knows to be true, tweak one little thing about it that makes it interesting and to turn it into science fiction, and then explore that world if that were true.
Right.
And he's got a time travel book called Timeline, and it's so Crichton. There's a rich guy like in Jurassic Park, and they assemble this team like in Sphere, where they get all these experts together, and one of the experts is this guy that is the leading expert on medieval weapons and warfare, and he's spends all his weekends at medieval reenactments and knows all the types of weapons and the ways to use them. And they go back to medieval times, and I forget the rest of the plot of the book, but in the end, like, he chooses to stay there because that's where he spent all his life studying this time period, and he is at home here, and everyone else goes back. So like, I think it starts like with an archaeological dig where they discover something that like chemically dates to being 700 years old, but like refers to something modern or something, and they're like, what the fuck? And of course it's an artifact that they later take back with them and gets left there. But I love those time loop paradox movies.
Are you going to Scarborough Fair? Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme.
Time travel. We need to make a movie spelling the time like that.
To one who lived there, she once was a true love of mine.
A movie about the spice trade called Time Travel.
Hey, we could figure this out. I know. Let's put this episode in a canister.
Right.
And shoot it into space so far that it goes back in time. That's never been tried.
Yeah. Someone might listen to this and be like, what's this thing on the radio here in 1942?
So listen to this. 15, 18, 22, 59, 64. Those are the winning lotto tickets for $193 million. That's what I liked about the Time Traveler's Wife more than anything. How he realized that in order to treat this condition, he had to make life as easy as possible. So he made them wealthy by just knowing the future. I love that part of it. And because I love looking at houses and have rehabbed all these houses, I love their house hunting adventure where he keeps saying, no, this isn't the one. No,
because he knows the one.
This isn't the one. And the one that is stunning.
Yeah.
Just stunning. I can't say enough about it.
Yeah, time is a flat circle.
So your Rodriguez is over. You're back to reality with the whole family plus the kitten.
But it's not even like normal reality because there's still 3 weeks until school starts. That's what I call reality. So I'm here trying to work while the kids are goofing around on their iPads.
Right.
Because it's life, school.
Well, I'll tell you, man, life is grand.
Hey, so in a couple of weeks, I'm not going to be able to record 1 week.
You're such a slouch.
Because I'm going to Croatia.
Wait a minute. You're going to Croatia, so let's record from there.
Yeah, it might be. So the first in-person conference that I've been invited to since February 2020, they're going to fly me out to Croatia, and I have my double vax certificate with a big QR code on it, and in theory I'm going to be able to travel there and spend a week hanging out with other computer
A
nerds.
week.
It's a 2-day conference.
Is it true Croatia is the blues and rock and roll haven?
I will tell you when I come back. I don't know.
Maybe Headbanger. Who knows, man?
I learned it's where Nikola Tesla was born.
Tell me more.
There's a Tesla museum there, but that's in the bigger city. I'm going to be on a coastal town.
Coast of what body of water?
It's the Mediterranean, I believe, but could be wrong.
You need to put a map on the case notes for today's episode.
The case file.
The case file.
So anyway, that's not until September, so we still got a couple more weeks.
I'm off to O'Duffy's Pub, which I've spoken of many times. It's the only
Duffy's.
bar in town that serves Smittix on draft, and the Out of Favor Boys, 2-man band, are playing tonight, hopefully outside by the looks of things, and there'll be live music, and I might be able to join them for a set. I will certainly go prepared.
Sweet. Do
These
regale
are
us
good.
with the
These are good.
results.
These are good times in Kalamazoo. This opening, and just the resurgence of the outdoor music. It's so special
And you're so thirsty for it.
and appreciative, thankful. I feel like when I'm there, I'm praying the whole time. It's just a tribute. It's Kate and Edie and Oberon and Persephone all ready to jump into the water. You do this kinds of things now where its music is good and it's right there in front of you, and people are just so nice.
So
Nice.
To be clear, you're saying you're going to be naked.
I didn't say that, but
You didn't deny it either.
yeah, we'll see how it works. That's my goal.
That's the ultimate goal. We come into this world naked.
And in this case, go to jail naked. I don't know. It would probably be. They wouldn't arrest me. They'd arrest me for assaulting the public good. It was
Right.
like an unspeakable vision. So I got into my sports car the other day in a fucking thing when at work.
Oh no.
I got my jump pack out and tried to jump it, and it appeared that the jump pack either wasn't strong enough or the problem wasn't the battery. I realized that upon entrance into the car, the light turned on fine and bright when I opened the door to get in, and it appeared that it wasn't the battery. And I said, son of a bitch, it's a starter. So I got out my pipe,
The non-starter.
which is about 4 foot long,
And you smoked
and I
a
put
what?
the pipe in between the spark plugs from the hood of the engine and put it down to where the starter was and pounded the shit out of the starter. And that didn't work. And I thought, fuck it, I'm not pounding it hard enough or in the right spot. So I found another way with my pipe to pound the starter. And what I was pounding with the starter was basically pounding out the corrosion that was keeping the starter from being able to twirl. And just a battery sometimes gets puffy with debris because it's in a moist atmosphere, and you have battery acid that forms. The brushes that are inside a starter that is required to get the whole thing moving can become corroded and a bit stuck. So my mechanic came over with it, and he said, I need a hammer. I said, it's always good to see a mechanic who needs a hammer. And he went underneath the car, and he hit it with a hammer, bang, and it started right up. So good news is I replicated that guy.
$500.
It started. Pardon?
And he charged you
Oh,
$500.
he actually, I gave him, I think I might have given him a $100 bill. He was here for 30 minutes. It would have cost me $149 to assess the problem.
Right.
Had I taken it to a shop.
Here, have a Benjamin.
Pardon?
You said, here, have a Benjamin.
Yeah. Have a Franklin. Yo. Franklin. Yo. Listen, brother, I got to move on.
I know you got. Sounds like you got plans. I got plans to.
man. I got some plans.
I gotta shuffle off this conscious
I'll be
coil.
the mayor of this town.
You can be the sheriff of Happy Hour.
I shot the sheriff,
Wait, does that make me the deputy?
but I did not shoot the deputy. I shot the sheriff, but I did not shoot the deputy.
All right, that's it for episode number 123 of Happy Hour. You can find the show notes at happyhour.fm/123. If you'd like to support the show and see that special video where Dennis and I recorded live together, you can go to patreon.com/happyhour and buy us around. See you next week.